I have been very excited to watch Komi Can't Communicate. I've heard nothing but good things, and the first episode absolutely delivered. Now, I do want to get this out of the way because there's probably going to be some questions because this is an odd scenario because Netflix is 2 weeks behind the Japanese release, and quality fan subs are a week behind the Japanese release. But if you wanted to keep up to date with when Japan gets these episodes, you can use Google Translate machine subs, which are garbage quality, or you can do what I'm going to do and wait for good subgroups like NovaWorks to release quality subs for a series that is going to have a lot of reading, given that the main character, Komi, can't communicate. So I do just want to throw that out there. So basically, as long as the quality subs keep up with the release that I'm expecting, between Wednesdays and Fridays is probably when you can assume that the Komi reviews will pop up, so most likely a week behind Japan, but probably a little bit ahead of, like, Netflix or something like that. But either way, just wanted to throw that out there, and hopefully people understand. Now, I've been excited for this one. I've heard nothing but good things. People in my own life love the manga, and the anime looked rather charming. And when you have, interestingly enough, a voice actor who definitely I'm keeping my eye on more and more, who voiced Kaguya in Kaguya-sama Love is War, who is a very talkative, very assertive character, now is voicing a very timid and shy character, who the most she's so far voice acted is almost a word and kind of mumbles and stumbles, which is pretty charming. The idea of communication disorders is something that you really don't see in anime and manga all too much, and if it does happen in manga, they're definitely not given the same light of day as something like the big shonens and isekais of the season, or, you know, are super popular at any given moment. But stuff like a silent voice, I really enjoy, because when you deal with bullying or just some sort of anxiety or just feeling bad about yourself, it's very easy to write it off and just make it a joke or something that's easily solved, which is completely unrealistic. And while this is definitely a rom-com where it has a lot of jokes and a lot of humor, it very much doesn't brush aside the problem that Komi can just make a friend and everything will be solved. No, Komi is going to struggle for probably the entire series. And I do like the idea that the school they're going to isn't your average run-of-the-mill high school. It's a private school full of personality. That's how they end this episode. That this is a school that, you know, weirdos and those with outlandish issues or even like a personalities are going to be who you're going to be interacting with, which is probably for the best, because I think it would be rather boring in terms of like wanting to watch multiple episodes of just these two interacting, unless it was like the shorter chapters or shorter episodes, like the 4 to 5 minute episodes. If it was only these two for every episode, it would eventually grow stale. It might be wholesome still, but not something that people are going to actively want to discuss. But you throw in a cast of side characters and teachers and those with extreme personalities. There's a goddamn ninja in the back of their classroom, and then you have this other girl who was overly shy and, you know, was stumbling around, but it was really cute. This clearly is a show with personality, and personality is what you want, especially if one of your characters isn't going to speak out loud all too much. Now, the main character that is ultimately the first friend of Komi, Tadano, I thought was rather nice, I have to say. I thought it was going to be a little different just based on the style, because clearly she was probably going to be popular to some degree. I just wasn't expecting as popular, the whole idea of class princess. Look at the after the credits gag. She stands up to read because it's her time. She says nothing and the teacher just gustures about how, like, exactly that's how you're supposed to do it. That you get the feeling of this book, right? I was expecting more like she was so, like, it would be like a mixture of, like, people think she's strung up and has a stick up her ass because she doesn't talk, and then there'd be another section that just thinks she's so awesome and wanting to step on you. Like, that's probably how it was gonna be. Where Tadano would be a character that no one gave a shit about, but I wasn't expecting his personality to be as wholesome as it was. Like, he's trying his best. He's just trying to make do, trying to have a great high school life. And because just unfortunate circumstances outside of his control, he kind of has daggers thrown at him and target for a face. But I like how his interactions with Komi, I think, could have been very easy to mess up in terms of the long game. And what I mean is you could have had him be the first person that Komi communicates with, and then in return, she very much overcomes a big hurdle in her life and things start spiraling and he's no longer needed. And that's not an issue if it's done well with different sorts of issues. Her issue is a communication disorder, and based on what we've seen, And what we know, she shouldn't overcome it because one person's her friend and wrote messages on the chalkboard for hours on end. Instead, this should be not only a memorable moment for her, something that she doesn't throw away, and even if she made 50 friends, she would still remember that was the first friend and without a doubt her best friend. But I like the fact that he's someone who recognizes that after they kind of have a talk where she writes on the board and he responds and she starts running away because she feels like a burden and an issue, he starts talking by writing as well. And there's this moment where they pull away and you see the board completely filled with messages, and it really warms your heart. And that's where the kind of softness and sweetness and charming aspects about the show come from. And I'm glad that this is clearly going to be a show with a mixture of humorous meets wholesome, because either one of them could eventually grow boring. And I've seen so many shows simply rely on the funny, and eventually the jokes wear thin. Or you just rely on the wholesome and you say, I don't need any more sweetness after a few episodes. But blending the two, as seen by the first episode, has me really excited about the kind of formula that this show wants to go with. I mean, the music is absolutely incredible. There was hardly any voice acting during that chalkboard scene. You had this very soft piano score, which was completely beautiful and really enhanced a silent experience that could have been completely forgettable. You had the sunlight peering into the room, you saw the dust and just these very romantic-like particles all throughout the classroom. You had this beautiful song, the chalk hitting the board, and it was so great to see how a scene, which I actually went and looked at the manga panels coordinating with that scene, and I loved how the studio adapted that and really elevated it into an anime, because this show would be so easy to mess up with the wrong team, because you would say, I mean, a character's not really talking, the music score is mediocre, the directing's whatever, why don't I just read it with better art and better everything, right? But no, this anime, you can definitely tell, is a passionate adaptation, and I really am impressed with the opening and ending song as well. I mean, the opening's visual is incredible, song equally so, and the ending song, which was just generic credits scrolling, but the song that played there was really well done. You can tell that the OST is going to be emotionally engaging and sweet and soft and everything it needs to be, with voice actors that clearly are going to match the roles they're in. Though I do wonder, and I'm probably not the only one thinking this, you have a pretty talented voice actor voicing Komi, but Komi doesn't speak all that much, and she doesn't have all that many vocal, grunts or anything like that. I'm curious, would she get paid the same amount had this been a normal role for her? It's something that I'm definitely going to question for some time, but I mean, quality anime for sure, and I'm glad that it's a perfect blend of wholesome meets hilarious, and the numerous times that they just amplified the art design and how many different styles for jokes and shifts in character models. You have your traditional Komi wide-eyed or animal ears, but there's some original shots, and I never got bored at the jokes and how they continue to elevate the comedy throughout this first episode. Like I said, I'm excited for this one. I mean, the reviews will be delayed, but probably still ahead of Netflix, given how seemingly the quality fan subs are going to be coming out, but I'm excited for this one. Most likely between Wednesdays and Fridays, but obviously we'll play it by ear, and we'll go from here. Let me know your thoughts, though, on Komi so far with episode 1. Please don't spoil me. If you have checked out future episodes, just leave it kind of hey, I really enjoyed the future episodes, but don't drop specifics. I am trying to enjoy this one fresh, and fresh is how I want to experience this quality show. But let me know your feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.